Thomas can be described as a cheeky, fussy little engine. He often gets into scrapes, usually by being overeager to do things best left to bigger and more sensible engines. But clouds never last long in Thomas's life, and he's soon bustling about again, playing his part in the yard and on his very own branch line, of which he is extremely proud. Edward is an older engine, but the most important thing about him is that he's kind. When the other engines misbehave, it's Edward Sir Topham Hatt turns to in order to calm everyone down and restore order. Henry is a long, fast engine. He has a thoroughbred look, and like all thoroughbreds, tends to be somewhat highly strung and prone to illness. But he has his new shape now, and sympathetically driven, he'll give any engine a run for its money. Gordon is the senior member of the engine family, the fastest and the most powerful of Sir Topham Hatt's string, and he knows it. He's good-hearted, though, and always willing to forgive, and use his superior strength to help smaller engines out of trouble. James is a medium-sized engine. His 6 driving wheels are not as big as Gordon's, and not as small as Thomas's. He has a fine scarlet coat and brass dome, and likes to think of himself as a really splendid engine. This can occasionally lead to highfalutin ideas about the sort of work suitable for such a noble creature. Invariably, they land James in trouble. Percy is the junior member of the principal team of engines. He's a happy little chap who's normally quite content puffing around the yard with no particular desire for adventure in the great world outside. He is always keen to oblige, a fact of which the other engines are apt to take advantage of. Toby is an old-fashioned engine, both in looks and outlook. Every engine, no matter how old, wants to be really useful, and having once nearly been scrapped, Toby is always happy to work. He's not above being temperamental sometimes, but since he works mainly up at the outline and quarry line, he can work off his moods without causing grief to anyone, except his own faithful coach, Henrietta. Duck is a cheerful and busy engine. He's only a small tank engine, but coming as he does from the Great Western Railway, he'll stand no nonsense whatsoever from the larger engines who try to order him about. Other than their name flags and numbers, Donald and his brother Douglas are identical Scottish twins. Donald really dislikes to be parted from his brother, while Douglas loves to play practical jokes on the other engines. Their antics usually lead to trouble, but they are hard workers and are especially good at plowing snow. Oliver, along with his brake van Toad, were saved by Douglas from being scrapped, to whom he is now very grateful. He was given a new coat of green paint and now proudly works on Duck's branch line. This can get him a little too big for his buffers, but he is a very reliable engine. Emily is a beautiful engine with shiny paintwork and gleaming brass fittings. While smart and sassy, Emily has proven how helpful and important she can be. After rescuing Oliver and Toad when they were stranded, Sir Topham Hatt rewarded her with a brand new pair of coaches and a place at Tidmouth Sheds. Bill and Ben are tank engine twins and identical in every way. Bill enjoys being mischievous and teasing the other engines, which is especially distracting to the senior members. Ben wears a huge, devious grin most of the day and spends his time working between the clay pits of the Sodor China Clay Company. After being saved from scrap by Rusty, Stepney the Bluebell engine is now always buzzing with enthusiasm and eager to please. He has no main place to work, but instead will help out whenever Sir Topham Hatt needs him. Harvey, despite his size, is a good-natured crane engine brought to the island to help with the loading and unloading of freight work. No job is too big for him. He is often used in the yards, the docks, and the building sites, but his true home is the Sodor Waterworks. Arthur is a big red tank engine whose job is to shunt trucks and pull freight. He is excited to work for Sir Topham Hatt, as he is proud of his famous spotless record. Only time will tell if that record will stay as spotless as Arthur would like. Murdoch is a mighty long engine with 10 driving wheels. He was brought to the island to help with the heavy workload and pull freight on the main line. As shy as he is strong, Murdoch can often be found seeking peace and quiet when the other engines aren't around. Fergus is a railway traction engine who works at the Sodor Cement Works. Working around all the dust has given Fergus a chronic cough, but he is extremely reliable and always willing to play by the rules. Spencer is just about the shiniest and sleekest engine the island of Sodor has ever seen. A striking Silver Express engine, Spencer was brought to the island as the private engine of the visiting Duke and Duchess. Once, Gordon had advised him to take on more water, but Spencer felt he was too important to take on more, and ended up running dry. Rosie is a feisty, fun, and very free-spirited engine. Rosie is somewhat of a tomboy engine. She's almost the same size and has the same capability of Thomas, whom she idolizes. She seeks to copy his every action and follow his every mood, with great charm and equal persistence. This drives Thomas crazy. He just wants to be left alone to be really useful. But why he thinks Rosie can't be really useful together? Molly is a large, powerful, and bright yellow steam engine. She's proud of her strength, but Molly is also very sensitive. She wants the other engines to think the best of her. She finds any conflict very upsetting and steams away to avoid it. Neville is an oddly shaped steam engine who looks like a diesel. He's enthusiastic, friendly, and always ready to help out the team. Neville never holds a grudge on anyone and can always be found with a smile on his face. Whiff has a look and a smell all of his own. He's a cheery little tank engine with a very special job, to collect garbage. Whiff doesn't care about his appearance. He only cares that he gets the job done. Whiff loves collecting rubbish and doesn't notice the turn-up noses he passed along his way. Billy is a brightly colored orange, boisterous, and bubbly tank engine who thinks he can do it all. Nothing is too daunting or challenging for Billy. He's always bursting with enthusiasm, which may rattle a few rods, but never upsets an engine for long. Stanley is a new tank engine on the island of Sodor. He's gray, chrome, and shiny. He's a little bit bigger and a little bit newer and stronger than Thomas. Stanley is still a very good engine and is everyone's friend, the boy next door of Sir Topham Hatt's railway. The Flying Scotsman is a good brother of Gordon and was brought to the island by Sir Topham Hatt to help cheer him up when he was feeling down. The Flying Scotsman has two tenders because on his railway, coal and water are not as available as on Sir Topham Hatt's railway. Lady is a very special engine. When she moves along the rails, she spreads gold dust with her magical powers. When Sodor was in disarray, Lady has been known to help Thomas and his friends when there was no other engine to turn to. Devious Diesel, as he is referred to by the other engines, is always bad news when he's around. Oily, scheming, and ever ready to stir up trouble in the shed, his characteristic smirk is a sure sign that someone somewhere is in for a bit of trouble. Daisy was built for passenger services on Thomas's branch line. When she first arrived, she was highly sprung and would only carry passengers because she felt she was too good to pull trucks. However, Daisy soon learned that all work is important on Sodor, and now helps out whenever she can. BoCo is a big diesel engine who quickly became one of the favorite and funniest engines on the island. Although he must often put up with the antics of Bill and Ben, he has learned to deal with their humor at times, even turn their tricks against them. Mavis is a feisty young diesel engine who works at the quarry. She is full of her own ideas and doesn't take kindly to advice. At first, she and Toby did not get along, but that soon changed. She has a lot to learn about the troublesome trucks, but with Toby's help, she is learning to be a really useful engine. Class 40 is a snooty type of chap. Like all diesels, he likes to think he knows it all, which gets up every steam engine's funnel. Despite his immense power, he soon learns that nothing chuffs like a steam engine and is happy to work whenever he can. Derek is a large diesel engine who loves to look the part, but he sadly suffers a lot from overheating and various other problems. At first, Bill and Ben disliked Derek, but because of Derek's kind soul, they soon became good friends. Derek now spends most of his time at the quarries and clay mines near Brendam Docks. Iron Arry and Iron Bert are diesel engines that work down at the scrap yards and smelter shed. As with most diesel engines, Arry feels that diesels are much superior to steam engines and enjoys breaking them down when he gets the chance. His brother, Bert, loves to melt down old steam engines and would really like to melt down Stepney and Oliver if given the chance. Diesel 10 is a very large and strong engine with a big menacing mechanical claw he uses for everything, from cleaning up junk to tearing down old buildings. Many of the steam engines and diesel engines on Sodor are afraid of him, but if they get to know him, they may find deep inside he is a really useful engine. Splatter and Dodge are Diesel 10's silly sidekicks. Splatter likes to help out Diesel 10 in his plan to take over the island of steam engines, but also gets pleasure watching Diesel 10's plans backfire. His brother Dodge likes to plot and scheme, but is not nearly as tough as he likes to think he is. Salty, the dockside diesel, is a very hard-working engine who loves to tell tales of the sea. He often works in the quarry and other industrial areas of Sodor, but is happiest down by the docks. Salty has a great big heart and will always rush to the aid of any engine, be it steam or fellow diesel. Dennis is a very lazy diesel who will do anything to get out of work. He takes advantage of any opportunity to create an excuse to avoid a good day's work. When he's found out, he says he's sorry and will work hard the next day until the next chance to avoid work comes. Scaroley is a very chipper hard worker who shares his duties with his best friend Reneas. He is a proper engine who is dedicated to his narrow gauge line and is always eager to help out when needed. Reneas is a tough little engine, but because of his age, often breaks down. His sole purpose is to work hard and uphold the fine reputation of the narrow gauge system. Because of this, he is well respected by engines and drivers alike. Brought up under the instruction from Duke, Sir Handel is one of the oldest engines of the narrow gauge line. He generally is of the opinion that he knows it all and should be the boss. This occasionally leads him to have a tantrum or a bad attitude. Still, he always gets the job done no matter what. Peter Sam is a happy and kind engine, but is a little vulnerable and often teased by the other engines. He, like Sir Handel, was tutored by Duke and has a great respect for him deep down, despite ribbing him about his age and calling him Grandpuff. A hard worker by nature, Peter Sam seldom grumbles about late hours or extra work, unlike some engines I can mention. Rusty is a very self-assured and dedicated hard worker with a huge heart. The little diesel loves adventures and the other engines, which makes their lives much easier. Duncan means well, but he will rock and roll whenever the mood takes him. He tends to have a mind of his own, which makes him obstinate and rude on occasions. However, he has a great big heart though, but a little misguided. Duncan, by name, is now part of Sir Topham Hatt's narrow gauge railway, of which he feels he is very overworked. Duke is the oldest of the narrow gauge engines and the most experienced. He enjoys teaching the others the proper way to do things the right way. He often talks about the good old days when rules and regulations were obeyed. Despite his head teacher attitude, he is gentle and kind to the younger engines, but maintains his authority at times. Mighty Mac is two engines in one. He is mighty on one end and Mac on the other, making him one of the most unusual engines working on Sodor. When Mighty and Mac work together, Mighty Mac is the strongest engine of the narrow gauge railway, but when they don't, Mighty and Mac pull each other backwards and forwards, only to end up right where they began. Freddy is the warhorse engine of the narrow gauge railway, a handsome engine with a big brass dome. He was, in his youth, the daredevil of the hills. He could go faster and more fearlessly than any other engines. After a spell away, Fearless Freddy is back, and the other engines were delighted. He's very popular and something of a hero to the younger ones. Although Freddy now has to contend with the unflattering rattles and creaks of his age, he's still determined to give the other engines a run for their money. Mike works the small railway with his friends Bert and Rex. He is very boastful of his shrill whistle, which he enjoys blowing frequently, even if it annoys the other engines. Rex is one of the 3 small railway engines and is the most level-headed of the group. He is a kind and hard worker, and especially loves to tease Mike when he gets the chance. Bert is one of the 3 small engines who works the small railway. He is very proud of his blue coat and is not afraid to get back at someone who thinks he has wronged him. Annie and her faithful friend Clarabel were given to Thomas as a reward for proving himself to be a really useful engine. Annie carries passengers only and is always pulled by Thomas facing him. Clarabel is a compost coach, carrying both passengers and the luggage, and usually travels behind Annie, facing away from Thomas. Henrietta is Toby's faithful coach, who came to Sir Topham Hatt's railway with Toby after almost being turned into a henhouse. Although she rarely carries a full load of passengers, she is quite content with her life on Sodor. Toad is Oliver's brake van and loves working with his colleague. He was almost scrapped, but was saved by Douglas, and now happily works alongside Oliver on Duck's branch line. Toad is always coupled to Oliver, so he is always traveling backwards, which is fine with him since some troublesome trucks played a trick on him, and he learned how useful traveling backwards can be. The troublesome trucks are the rascals of Sir Topham Hatt's railway, who take great delight in causing trouble for whichever engine has to pull them. Noisy and silly, they talk a lot and do not attend to what they are doing. Hector is a huge happy hopper truck who can carry more coal than any other truck on Sodor. Unlike the other trucks on the island, Hector isn't troublesome and enjoys helping all the engines on Sir Topham Hatt's railway. Hector used to be afraid of coal and started lashing out, giving him the nickname Hector the Horrid. Bertie the bus has a great deal in common with Thomas. Ever since their great race, they've been the firmest of friends. Bertie's strongest characteristic is his friendly grin and his readiness to help any engine prepared to admit that sometimes roads have their uses as well as rails. Slow and steady and always with a smile, that's Terence the tractor, the subject of endless teasing from the younger engines on the subject of his caterpillar tracks, he takes it all in good pride and gets quickly on with the job, never hesitating to help out when an emergency pull is called for. Trevor is an old steam traction engine who enjoys dozing in the sun, but hates being left outside for too long. He loves to show that he's still very useful and capable of a good day's work, but the most important part, he likes when parents bring their children to the farm so he can give them rides around the field. Bulgy is a very bad-tempered double-decker bus who is out to close down the rails and free the roads. He has no scruples and knows how to tell a lie when he's in a tight jam, which is why he and Diesel are best friends. George is a very grouchy and grumpy steamroller and no friend to the railway. Railways are no good. Pull them up and turn them into roads, is his opinion, and he spends his time doing just that. After getting Thomas to derail, Sir Topham Hatt decided to remove his rower for a while. With his rower back in place, he is more careful now, but still enjoys paving over tracks when given the chance. Caroline is very calm in nature and enjoys taking leisurely drives along the beautiful Sodor countryside. She hates being pushed along the road too fast, and if you ask her why, she says she tends to break down at high speeds. Bulstrode is an old, bad-tempered, seagoing barge. He's only happy when he's carrying a full load of cargo, otherwise he's very grumpy and rude. His moaning and groaning soon got him into trouble when Percy and some troublesome trucks taught him a very important lesson. Like all cranes, Cranky has a high and mighty attitude, which often annoys the engines. Cranky knows that if he ever gets too big for his crane hook, the engines have ways of getting back at him. However, Cranky enjoys teasing them because he says it makes for good working relationships. But don't ask Percy or Salty if they agree. Butch the breakdown truck has an immense engine and is very powerful, hence his name. However, despite his size, he is a kind-hearted giant and always takes his work seriously. Unlike many road vehicles, Butch loves working in the company of the other engines. Thumper was built by the Sodor Mining Company to help speed up operations at the quarry. After his initial problems with the mining area in the hills and with the boulder incident, Thumper is now strictly used for slate mining. Because of his large size, he sometimes gets out of control and causes disruptions when he works with Rusty in the new mine areas. Elizabeth is a beautifully restored vintage steam truck, who, like all trucks on the island, believes that roads are much superior than railways. She tends to wear a snarky scowl and will be quick to correct the engines who comment her on her age by exclaiming, "I'm not old, I'm vintage." She has no patience for dawdlers. If you are here, you better be here to work. Nelson is a proud and intelligent transporter whose job is to haul members of the construction team to and from work. As the bearer of such heavy weights and heavy loads, he often feels overworked, but will never complain. He is extremely proud of his paint job and is happiest when he looks his best. Jack is one of the friendliest front loaders the island has ever seen. Jack and his Sodor construction crew work on projects all over the island of Sodor. Jack loves his job so much and is eager to please that he often takes tasks he probably shouldn't. Check out the time when Jack had to be reminded of the pack's motto, safety first. Alfie is a small excavator who makes even the toughest jobs seem easy. He is very friendly, helpful, and loves to do all the dirty work. In fact, his favorite expression is, more dirt means more fun! Oliver is a big excavator of considerable size, power, and precision, capable of moving and digging tons of earth in a single day. Despite his size and weight, he is incredibly graceful, and his manners are impeccable. When Kelly is out of action, it's Oliver Miss Jenny relies on to be the team leader. Max and Monty are quite a handful pair of dump trucks. They think they know everything about construction. However, they often cause havoc by reckless nature in how they work and like to bully even the smaller machines in the yard. Eventually, they always get their comeuppance. Kelly is the oldest and most responsible in the yard. He was the first machine that Miss Jenny's father bought, and therefore shares a special relationship with Miss Jenny herself. Kelly is often called upon to assist vehicles in trouble, and is always useful in any type of construction crisis. Byron is a giant bulldozer, capable of moving tons of dirt with a single thrust of his powerful blade. Byron's size, strength, and skills are very impressive, and he knows it. He doesn't like to waste his talents on jobs which he thinks are beneath him. This occasionally gets Byron into trouble. Despite this, Byron has a huge heart and will always give a hand to those who need it. Ned is a big lumbering steam shovel. He is as sweet as he is strong, and always seems to be happy regardless of the situation. However, he is sometimes scattered and is constantly bumping, squashing, or breaking things. Because of this, the other machines sometimes get down on Ned, but never for too long, as they know he's always trying his hardest to do a great job. Isabella is a proper and polite steam truck. A hard and responsible worker, she is often fortunate enough to get to work with her close friends, Jack and Alfie. She is extremely proud and finds that the hardest part of the job is keeping her paint clean. Buster is a simple steamroller who goes out and about with his job with glee and pride, knowing all is right with the world. What Buster lacks in imagination, he makes up for it in heart, commitment, and hard work, and is liked by all the machines in Miss Jenny's yard. Patrick, the cement mixer, knows all there is to know about cement. He is older and has a lot of experience with construction, which sometimes makes him a bit boastful. He is kind, though, and likes helping the younger, less experienced machines. It's been many years since the young Mr. Sir Topham Hatt first came to Sodor as a railway engineer. He rose quickly into the company, being a director at an early age, and eventually chairman. His imposing appearance, no less than his firm but kindly handling of both engines and staff, earned him the affectionate nickname of the Fat Director. Then, after nationalization, when he was awarded a knighthood for his services to the railway industry, he became Sir Topham Hatt, the Fat Controller. Lady Hatt is Sir Topham Hatt's wife. The engines are extremely fond of her and like when she visits the railway or rides in one of their coaches. A kind and gentle woman, Lady Hatt usually praises the engines for their good deeds. Although we've never met Sir Topham Hatt and Lady Hatt's children, we do meet their grandchildren during the vacation to the seaside. Miss Jenny Packard, affectionately known as Miss Jenny, is the owner and leader of the Sodor Construction Company. She is warm and complimentary and runs the yard under the firm rule that safety is her first priority. Mr. Peregrine Percival manages the narrow gauge railway and oversees the engines. He prefers to travel by bike, but is now to travel with his friend Sir Topham Hatt in his car. Mr. Percival will have one of Sir Topham Hatt's engines to help out at the quarry, the transfer yards, and the wharf. Both Mr. Percival and his wife have 5 children, including twins Patrick and Pansy. Mr. Conductor has the important job of driving the engines around the island. Although he must often put up with the antiques of the engines and the troublesome trucks, the conductor enjoys his job and is not above playing jokes on the engines when the opportunity arises.